Welcome to this training session on OSE troubleshooting. As a solution designer, you may configure a solution correctly, but still see behavior that doesn't match what you expected during setup or testing. In those situations, the first challenge is knowing where to start. The issue could be related to solution preparation, pages, workflows, menus, testing, or validation. In this course, we'll walk through common OSE troubleshooting scenarios and learn the first checks you should perform to identify and resolve the issue. First, we're going to take a look at things to remember before troubleshooting. Troubleshooting OSE configuration areas. So solution preparation, page troubleshooting, workflows, menu, role-based, and testing-based troubleshooting. Then we'll take a look at release readiness, the final checklist before release. And finally, how to open a support case. Before troubleshooting a specific OSE issue, first confirm that you have these few things in check. The user should have the required OPUS Solution Designer role, because without that role, they may not be able to access or configure the company solution. Next, confirm that the user has the required application access and permissions for the configuration area they're working in. Finally, if the solution behavior is being tested, make sure the solution is assigned or activated on the correct network. Once these setup checks are confirmed, we can start troubleshooting the specific OSE area, such as pages, workflows, menus, or validation. Before we start troubleshooting specific scenarios, use these questions as a quick checklist. Before changing any configuration, first check the solution state, whether the latest changes were saved and validated, the type of solution or version being used, and whether the correct setup is being tested. Also check the activity status when a solution has been downloaded, saved, or unpacked. If an error appears, use action history to review the failed step and understand what happened during the process. These checks help us avoid troubleshooting the wrong area. Once we confirm these basics, we can move into the specific scenarios and look at how to resolve each type of issue step by step. Now let's take a look at troubleshooting OSE configuration areas. Starting with solution preparation. Let's look at scenario 1. An OPUS Solution Designer tries to download a release solution at an older version, but the download fails with an error. This usually happens when a newer version of the solution already exists, and OSE does not allow downloading an older version over a higher released version. So, if the designer needs to work from that older version, the correct approach is not to download it directly. Instead, they should locate the older version in the catalog and use Save As to create an editable company solution copy. Let's look at scenario 2. OPUS Solution Designer downloads or saves a solution, but the unpacking process fails or completes with an error. When a solution is downloaded or saved, OSE runs an unpacking process in the background. If that process runs into a problem, the solution may not appear as expected or may show an error. For this scenario, the key place to check is the activity status column on the solutions page. Activity status does not show every stage of unpacking, but it can indicate when there is an error. If an error appears, open the solution's action history to review the details. Action history helps identify which step failed and provides more information about what went wrong. Now let's look at scenario 3. An OPUS Solution Designer cannot edit fields, pages, menus, workflows, or other configuration items. What could prevent the solution from being editable? In OSE, the first thing to check is the solution state. A solution can only be configured when it's in the edit state. If the solution is in test or release state, configuration items are read-only and cannot be edited directly. Currently, if you need to make changes from a non-editable state, the solution is to create a new version so you can work in an editable copy. Once the new version is in the edit state, you can make the required changes. In future updates, solutions in test state will be able to move back to the edit state. When that's available, you may be able to return the test solution to edit instead of creating a new version. However, a release solution will still require a new editable version for changes. Now on to page troubleshooting. In scenario 4, the solution builder notices that a button is missing from a page. For example, the Save a New button is expected on a new page, but it isn't visible. In this case, the likely cause is that the button is configured as hidden. To fix it, open the page configuration while the solution is in the edit state, locate the button settings, and change the button from hidden to visible. After that, save and validate the page, then test again to confirm the button appears as expected. I'm now going to show you hidden page elements. In OPUS, go to the main menu and select OPUS Solution Environment. In the side menu, go to Available and Company Solutions. I'm just going to apply a filter here and enter a solution name. This, for example. Click into it. And I'm just scrolling down to New Pages. And I'm going to select this page name. Then Edit. And on the Edit page, you'll see hidden elements with a hide icon on them. Here, for example. Select the button and then select Show. This will make this button visible again. Be sure to click Save to save the updated configuration and then validate it on your solution network. Now let's look at scenario 5. Clicking a row in a table does not open the View Edit page. In this scenario, the search page is available and the table is showing records, but when the user clicks the row text, nothing happens. So what could be missing here? For row navigation to work, the correct table column must have a hyperlink enabled. If the hyperlink is not configured on that column, the row text will display as normal text instead of acting as a link to the View Edit page. To fix this, open the search page that contains the table, find the column that should open the record, and edit that column's configuration. Enable the hyperlink on that column, then save the change and validate the page. I'm now going to show you how to add a hyperlink to a column. Once again, in OPUS Solution Environment, go to Available and Company Solutions. I already have a filter applied. Click into it, and I'm scrolling down to Search Pages and selecting this one. Then Edit. Select the column you want to add hyperlinks to, such as Display Identifier. And from the top panel, select Configure UI Properties. A push panel will then display. Here you can enable the hyperlink and apply. Once again, be sure to save the configuration. Now on to workflows. In scenario 6, a user clicks a workflow action, but the record stays in the same state. The action may appear to be available, but after the user selects it, the record doesn't move forward. The likely cause is that the transition for that workflow state does not exist, or the transition configuration is blank. To troubleshoot this, open the workflow configuration and identify the current state of the record. Then check whether there is a transition configured from that current state to the expected next state. If the transition is missing or incomplete, create or complete the transition, then save and validate the workflow configuration. Now for menu troubleshooting. In this scenario, the menu item is visible, but when the user clicks it, it opens a different page than expected. So what could cause a menu item to take the user to the wrong place? The most likely cause is that the menu item is linked to the wrong page. The menu item itself may be visible and working, but its target page is not the intended one. To fix this, check which page the menu item is currently linked to, then update the link to the correct page. Now on to roles. Let's look at scenario 8. A new menu item was created and linked to the correct page and business object type, but it isn't visible during testing. So what could still be missing if the menu item itself was created correctly? In OSE, creating the menu item is only one part of the setup. The menu item also needs to be allowed through the solution's role configuration. To fix this, open the solution and go to Roles, Select the role you're using for testing, find the new menu item, and change its setting to permitted. After saving, retest the solution and confirm that the menu item is now visible. I'm now going to show you how to add menu permissions. In OPUS Solution Environment, go to Available, Company Solutions. You can apply a filter. I already have one applied, and I'll click into the solution. I'm scrolling down to Roles, and then select the role you're using for testing. In our case, Member Expanded Access. Select Edit. On the Roles Details page, select the menu permissions and select the menu, in this case, Product Complaint. Select the menu item you want to configure, in this case, Product Complaints Dashboard Owner. Click on the Edit icon and move the Grant Permission button to Permitted. Select Apply and Save to save the configuration. Then validate the changes on the network to see the menu item to be visible. Now, testing-based troubleshooting. Let's look at scenario 9. Recent configuration changes are not visible during testing. In this situation, the solution designer has made a configuration change, but when they test the solution, the update does not appear. Before assuming the configuration is wrong, ask yourself, has the current session loaded the latest changes? The likely cause here is that the user session has not refreshed to pick up the latest configuration. To resolve this, first confirm that the change was saved in the edit state solution. Then, log out of the environment completely, log back in, return to the affected area, and verify whether the latest update is now visible. Now the final checklist before release. Before moving a solution to the release state, use this checklist to confirm the main setup, configuration, and testing items are working as expected. Check the basics first: the correct role, network activation, solution version, and lifecycle state. Then confirm that pages, menus, workflow transitions, roles, and permissions behave as intended. Finally, review action history for any failed steps and make sure testing matches the expected behavior. The goal is to catch common issues before release. I'm now going to finish by showing you how to open a support case. On OPUS, in the header bar, select the support icon. If your company has access to the Customer Success Portal, this opens your company's portal where you can log in and create or manage support cases. If you don't have access to the Customer Success Portal, the support icon takes you to the TraceLink Global Support Request page where you can submit a support request form. This functions as opening a support case. Scroll down to open a support case. To help us start researching the issue you reported, please provide the details within the description field of the support request form. Application, for example, company administration, OSE, etc. The impact of this issue on your business operations, whether this is a new or recurring issue. Duplication steps. What are the detailed step-by-step instructions you perform to cause the issue to occur? Any additional information you believe is relevant to help us work with you to resolve or answer questions related to this case. That brings us to the end of this OSE troubleshooting training session. First, we took a look at things to remember before troubleshooting, and then troubleshooting OSE configuration areas: solution preparation, page, workflows, menu, role-based, and testing-based troubleshooting. We then went through a final checklist before release and how to open a support case. If you have any questions following this session today, please feel free to email tracinguniversity@tracelink.com. Thank you for your time.